for folks to pop on here. This meeting is being recorded and streamed onto the FC Dallas YouTube page. Same thing still applies, just like our post-game press conferences. As you remember, simply just raise your hand and we will go down the list and call on you. If a question is for a specific person, please let them know it's a question for Andre or a question for Dan, and we will get things going. Give it about another 30 seconds here and we'll get it going for Andre and Dan. Appreciate everyone's time today. Okay, we'll get things going. Again, we'll kick it off here with Abraham from Al Dia and the Dallas Morning News. Go ahead, Abraham. You can unmute yourself, please.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Andre, for your time. I have one question for Dan and one for Andre. Dan, my question for you, it is fair for any head coach to set high expectation in a club that is basically a development club like the FC Dallas. Is that fair for any head coach coming to work for you?
Look, first I want to start off by saying, how much we appreciate Lucci's time here at FC Dallas. He is an amazing man, and the person that he is really special. And he did a lot of really great things here. Obviously, I think the big one was winning in Portland in the playoffs last year. That was a great accomplishment. And, Lucci has done a lot of great things through our academy, through, the first team. Yes, we do develop players, and that's something of pride here at FC Dallas. This is one of the best developers of U.S. national team players anywhere in Major League Soccer. And we have another rising group of great players. But we have a lot of veteran players, too, that have come from other clubs, other countries, and had great careers. And we aspire to win championships here. I mean, that's why we do this. And we want to be a perennial playoff team. And we've had a lot of success here at FC Dallas for many, many years. I was reflecting back on it, but Shellis, had great teams here. Oscar did too. And then Lucci's first 2 years in the playoffs. So I don't know that a development club is a fair characterization of the entire organization, although it's something I'm incredibly proud of, that we develop a lot of America's top young talents. And I think that's incredibly exciting for our fans.
Then, did players stop believing in Lucci's message?
No, I don't think the players stopped believing in Lucci's message. We made a change here when you looked at where we were on the table and sort of the direction of things going. This is not where we expected to be with 8 games remaining in the season to be in 11th place. The good news is we're only 7 points off the playoff line. We made a choice to make a change now because we actually believe we have an opportunity to still get in to the playoffs. And we think Marco is the right guy to, help lead us. Marco has such great history at this club, great experience coaching in MLS. Marco was the architect of a lot of our great teams on the defensive side. And this is about moving forward now for FC Dallas. Again, I'm incredibly thankful for Lucci, but we think Marco can help lead us over these next 8 games. There's some things we've got to obviously cure. Some of it is on the defensive side. We were leading the league in yellow cards, which is not a place you want to be. It puts you in a bad spot. And we're also leading MLS in penalty kicks conceded. That's not playoff soccer. And if we can help cure a couple of those things, I think we still got a chance to get in. And I wanted to give us the best chance possible to make the playoffs.
Thank you, Dan. And just my question for Andre, what different approach, Andre, does the new head coach has to take on these remaining 8 games of the season?
Hi. Also, just first of all, I'd like to thank you all for having your time and to be here. And also wanted to thank Lucci for all his time and almost 3 years working with him. For me personally, it was a great pleasure to work with such a great human being. And obviously, I wish him all the success in his career moving forward. Right now, what we're giving all the support to Marco. As Dan said, we really believe Marco can give us some more solidity defensively and make us this final stretch to we believe we can still make it to the playoffs. So Marco has a lot of experience, has coached for 15 years, has playing experience, and he knows well the league and what it takes for us to get back on track. So we haven't yet begun our search for a new coach. Obviously, this is part of my role here, and Marco obviously is going to be considered. And right now, we just want to give all the support to him, the coaching staff, the players, so we can start now Saturday against Vancouver, and then moving forward the remaining 7 matches.
Thanks, Abraham. We're going to go to Sam Stejskal from The Athletic and then Tom Bogert from MLS. Go ahead, Sam.
Thank you, Gina, and thank you, Dan and Andre, for taking the time to do this today. Appreciate it. Sorry, 1 second. Had a computer snafu there. You guys have obviously done a great job with the academy, and you're starting to reap some rewards from that. You've been respectable in MLS for a number of years now, but the club hasn't really been a consistent title contender for a while. Dan, this one's for you. Do you think this coaching change is enough to change that? Or do you think that you and your family need to do more as owners to really drive that process forward?
Well, look, we're addressing what's right in front of us right now, which is these 8 games. And again, this was not a decision made lightly. And this is not just about a head coach and you know, if things work or not. We are a team, we are a family here. And obviously, I think, you know, we all, you know, contributed or had a part in us not being as successful as we'd like to be. And we've got to continue to improve upon that. And so we gave, you know, Marco these 8 games, believing we're still alive in the hunt, you know, to make the playoffs, and you've got to get in to win it. And that's the first thing that's in front of us right now is this opportunity. Marco is being considered. He'll be a candidate. He's obviously on an interim basis, but we're going to do what's best for the club here. And that, you know, includes bringing in the best coaching candidate we can find. Andre is going to kick this process off and run it for us. And also we're going to address, you know, gaps in the roster going into this offseason. We think we have an incredibly talented roster. And we're reflecting on the organization. There's as many good goal scorers here that we have at the club, I think maybe ever. And you look at the numbers that they're starting to post, and Ricardo Pepi's obviously on fire, but it's nice to see Jader Orion coming into his own too. And, you know, Shun has had some ups and downs traveling with the national team, but, you know, he's a consistent producer on the assist side. And I think once he starts opening his account, and look, I think Jesus Ferreira, another example of a huge American talent that needs to get another shot at the national team. And then you got Franco Jara, who scores goals too. It's a really crowded group. That's exciting. But obviously we're sitting in 11th place and we have some holes that we have to fix. And so we're going to hopefully go through the process of finding the right coach and then allowing that coach to, you know, come in and, you know, maybe bring a couple players with them. There will be roster additions. That's the natural thing that happens in soccer. We've got to get better. We know it. We're committed to getting better because we have this unbelievable young core that we're doing everything we can to keep together. And if we can add a piece or two, I think we can have a really special group for several years here.
So just to drill down there and to follow up, I mean, obviously it seems like you think you guys have enough talent. There will be some changes and some turnover, as you mentioned, but you don't think there needs to be any sort of rethink or change in the approach in terms of the level of spend that you guys do with the first team to push this thing forward?
We're committed to spending, but it's going to be this coach's decision too. Like every coach that's been here has been involved in the coaching decision of bringing in players. Lucci, you know, had, you know, a couple of requests, like Jose Martinez was a big push for him this offseason. In fact, a player he coveted for almost a year. Jader Orion was another. Shun was a late add for us because of the change in the young player rules in Major League Soccer and the opportunity to take advantage of that mechanism. And I think, you know, we're thrilled to have those players there, but we will spend, we will fill those holes that we, you know, may have. I mean, it changes, right? Because the way one coach does it, another coach may do it differently and players may be successful, but we want to put ourselves in the best possible spot to address those needs and make sure that we continue to fill, these coaches and what they want. Because like I said, the core is really, really good here. There's a lot of talent. We've got a lot of legacy guys here too, who have been great contributors. Matt Hedges is here. I mean, you've got a guy who was defender of the year. You've got, Ryan Hollingshead, who's had a couple of the best left back seasons that you can have. So there are a lot of good players. I think Jimmy Maurer has had a really good 2 seasons here, the last 2 years here at FC Dallas. So these are exciting things, but we have to, add players too. We recognize that. And we want to make sure we, set up whoever the next full-time head coach of FC Dallas is for the most success possible and give our fans what they want, which is a championship, and they deserve it. I mean, they have stuck by us, and we owe it to them, and we owe it to the players, and we owe it to, the staff here. I know that we've been close in a couple of years and had some really fabulous teams, but close is not getting it done. It's about winning it, and that's what we're committed to do.
Thanks.
Thanks, Sam. We'll go to Tom next. Go ahead, Tom, and then we'll go to Dan Crook.
Thanks, Gina. Thanks, guys, for your time. This one's for Andre. I know that you guys are focused on the remaining 8 games of this season, and coaching search hasn't really begun in earnest or is just getting started. But kind of in a macro view, what are you most looking for in your next candidate? And should we expect somebody along the lines of like a coach with a developmental pedigree, like Luchi Gonzalez, or a more senior, I guess, win now coach? Like, I guess, just what direction are the club, focusing on next?
Hi, Tom. Thank you. Thank you for your question. Tom, we need to look what the DNA of this club is. So we are a club that is known and we are very proud of developing players and we have no fear to play the young players, to have a roster with Justin Che, with Ricardo Pepi, with Paxton Jesus, that they've been playing for, especially Paxton Jesus, for a couple of years, almost 3, the 3rd season at least since I got here, and they've been playing even before that. Reggie, Brian Reynolds. So I could be mentioning many names here, and we want to continue to do that. And obviously the coach that we will find, and we are gonna, as I said before, I'm gonna start this search very soon. It has to adapt what this club is. So regardless of age, if he more or less experienced, but he needs to believe in what our DNA is and what this process of developing players, taking them to the first team, allowing them opportunities to play. And this is going to be something that the new coach will have to have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. We're going to go to Third Degrees Dan Crook, and then Telemundo 39's Eric Mora. Go ahead, Dan. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Dan, I've just got a question. I actually had 2 questions. So the first one was, do you feel over the past couple of years that the team Luchi Gonzalez has been given through, various recruitment practices and players moving on was adequate to reach the club's goals, and is it still today?
Well, if you look at last year's team making it to the second round in the playoffs and losing 1-0 to a very good Seattle team, and unlucky to give up a goal the way we did in that match, that team was probably good enough to potentially make it to the finals. And it depends where you run into Minnesota and all of that too, because we'd had some ups and downs. 2020 is really, it doesn't matter if you're talking about soccer or anything else. 2020 is an incredibly difficult year to even think about because the schedule was so unusual, the environment, the stress on the players, the stress on the fans, stress on everybody. It was, and again, I'm so sorry for what's happened to so many people related to COVID. It's been devastating. 2019, we lose to, a Seattle team that, eventually wins in the finals, and one of the great MLS playoff games I think you've seen. so I would say we've been incredibly competitive in those things. And again, I look at this year's squad and say, boy, I'm not sure that we've had a better offensive group. It's still very, very young. And we've just been unlucky in some of the things that have happened, some of the goals that have been conceded, and the way things have gone. And I think, occasionally it just doesn't go your way. But we got to clean up those things. And a lot of it has to do with, we're excited about Marco and his opportunity because I said earlier, I think Oscar would tell you that Marco deserves a lot of credit for the teams that were built. And I know he worked closely with Shellis defensively on that. And, there are those little bit of things, the professional sports and all sports really is the margins are so narrow. And, when you don't have things going the right way, I point out the penalty kicks. I mean, that there's so many wins within that alone. If we're not giving up penalty kicks or giving up yellow cards like we are, they're putting ourselves in bad spots and also having players suspended. And, lastly, I'll say, these international call-ups have been incredibly difficult on our roster this year. It's really, messed up sort of the ebb and flow of what's been going on. And so, yes, I think we have a team that could be, this is a playoff team. I think we have that talent. And again, it always goes down to what happens in the playoffs. But I'm proud of, again, what Lucci had 2 really great years, great accomplishments and those things. And I will be forever grateful. And, he's been a great friend to all of us here. He's a wonderful human being, but we needed to take action now because it's not just about these 8 games, but it's also about what we're going to go do in 2022 and beyond. And it was really important for us to take this step to put a plan in place because we want to be successful. We want to be a perennial winner here.
And just the second one, a lot of the coaching hires historically have had some link to either the family or the team previously. In hindsight, looking back, a couple of years ago, you spoke, I think, at the North Texas SC launch about having applicants that had UEFA Champions League experience. Hindsight's 2020 and all that, but looking back, do you kind of think maybe, the new approach should be senior coaching experience, or is that familiarity to the FC Dallas way, more important?
So we did have candidates with Champions League experience, EPL experience, La Liga experience in this last go round. MLS is such a unique creature. It's a unique league. The rules and the way it's set up is so different. What we want is the best possible candidate to help lead us going forward, whether that's with a lot of experience or somebody who is a bright rising star. And, Andre talked about it philosophically. We will always continue to develop talent, young talent here, and specifically for the U.S. national team and sometimes, for the Mexican national team programs. That's part of our DNA. That's part of who we are here. And that's also a responsibility this club has to the U.S. national team program. But we also want to bring in people who are winners, who are going to help us be successful. And it's always a delicate balance of that. So I think you will see us look for somebody who has some of that development. But, I think that we also want good experience, somebody who is proving that they can win at the requisite level that's going to help us win and be successful in Major League Soccer.
All right, thanks, Dan. We're going to go to Telemundo 39's Eric Mora, followed by Peter Welton and the striker Texas John Arnold down the list. Go ahead, Eric.
Hi, Gina. Thank you so much. I have a couple of questions for each one of you. And the first one is for you, Mr. Hunt. The first one, it was really surprising yesterday knowing that, this kind of news, because we're not used of, FC Dallas taking these kind of decisions within the season playing, So why exactly do you take this decision right now? Just 8 games prior to the end of the season. Are you guys expecting the team to get into the playoffs still, or why taking the decision right now?
Yes, we still believe we have a chance to get into the playoffs. We're not eliminated from it, and we thought this gave us the best possible chance to move forward and achieve that goal. Yes, it's we've made it difficult for ourselves. But Marco is again a guy that we know, we trust, has a lot of MLS experience, and we think can help us out in some of the areas that we have been deficient in. And look, it's not just always about defense. We talked about it a little bit here, but there are things that happen on the field that you can correct that, don't put you in a bad spot defensively or cause you to concede goals. And, we needed to do what we thought was going to give us the best chance right now. And that was that, to make the switch, because we're only 7, points off the playoff line right now. And we're facing a bunch of the opponents that are in these playoff spots in front of us. So there's a lot of opportunity to make movement. And, I view it as, it's not just a short-term decision, it's also for the future of this club too, because the way we were trending, it didn't make sense to make a change at the end of the season. We needed to go ahead and address what was right in front of us so that we can ensure that we're going to have good teams now and into the future.
My second question is, of course, without getting into details, how was the conversation with Lucci? What was his reaction after this news? I mean, could you please guide us through this conversation?
Well, it's never easy. Lucci is not just a head coach here, not just a coworker, but he's a friend. He and I have been friends for a very long time. We actually knew each other back in college. And he had an amazing career at SMU, and then had a good professional career, some of it in Major League Soccer. And we brought Lucci here to run our, be an academy coach and then run our academy, and then obviously to be the head coach of FC Dallas. And this is somebody who I've really enjoyed building a friendship with, and who is a great human being. And I'm convinced that he will continue to grow and be successful, and we will do nothing but wish him the best here. He is well loved by us, but it was a difficult conversation. He would tell you, if you ask him, he said, look, I'm disappointed because I'm a competitor and I don't want to give up ever. And that's, one of those great, characteristics that he has. And so I think he felt like there was unfinished business, and we recognized that. He was incredibly thankful for his time here, incredibly gracious. And, as we told him, we're here to support him. And as he grows, people come and go in business and in sports, and we want to help him on his path and his journey here. And even though sometimes your paths are, become divergent and go different ways, but we want to support him. And yeah, it was not an easy conversation because of so many connections with him, but it was time for us to move forward and do what was in the best interest of the club at this time.
Is there a possibility of Lucci maybe in the future, say with the team, maybe in the academy again, and have a role within the institution in the academy or the growth of the youth or something like that?
Not at this time. There's not. That is the interesting thing about sports is it's such a small world, and your paths will continue to cross. He will always be welcome here. Somebody like I said, we love and we respect. You never know what happens. Lucci he aspires to be the best. I think he will continue to aspire to be a head coach and be involved in the national team programs too. So I don't know where the path will take him, but I think he will be very successful. He's a great guy, and we wish him the best. But I hope our paths cross again, because I really enjoyed the relationship with him.
I have 2 more questions for Andre. I'm going to make the questions in English, but if he can answer in Spanish, I will really appreciate it. And the first one is, do you have any candidates in mind already? Have you talked to someone already? And if you haven't, what kind of a style, what kind of coach are you guys looking for?
No, aún no. Como comenté antes, no empezamos a la búsqueda de un entrenador. Claro que tengo en mi cabeza aquí, discutiendo con Dan, con Clark, el perfil que vamos a buscar, y como también comenté antes, tiene que estar adecuado y dentro del ADN del club, como somos como institución, como es nuestra característica aquí. Entonces voy a buscar y vamos aquí a encontrar un entrenador que tenga este perfil. Y la segunda, ¿cómo?
¿Qué tipo de estilo buscan en un entrenador? Y si están abiertos, what kind of style are you looking in a coach? And are you open to find or look for a coach internationally or within the United States?
Bueno, estamos abiertos a buscar entrenadores que sean en el perfil Y claro, vamos a empezar conversaciones con algunos y bueno, decidir después dentro de los perfiles que encontramos, que entendemos que tengan las características para ahí sí que es una decisión muy difícil. Ya en mi carrera en Brasil antes ya pasé por esta situación otras veces. Nunca es fácil, es una tarea complicada porque encontrar un entrenador que realmente queremos que venga a aportar aquí y hacer el club exitoso y poner nosotros en el camino de pelear por títulos. Entonces, como comenté, por ahora lo que puedo decir es alguien que tenga el ADN del club y que venga a poder entender la filosofía que tenemos aquí y adecuarse a eso y poder llevarnos a otro nivel.
My last question, and thank you for your time. Once you take the decision, did you talk to the players and did you have a conversation with the players? And what was their reaction about this change?
In Spanish or?
Yes, in Spanish, please, in Spanish.
Sí, yo hablé con algunos de los jugadores, los capitanes. Yo llamé a cada uno de ellos y también antes de que pusieran la nota oficial, que saliera, que la noticia fuera pública, enviamos un mensaje también para que todos los jugadores pudieran saber antes en el grupo de WhatsApp que tenemos y bueno, informarles. Claro que la reacción de los jugadores fue por también todos aquí, como comenté, tenemos un cariño grande por Luchi, pero entienden y lo que entienden todos aquí en el club, que claro que no es Luchi es una de las piezas aquí y desafortunadamente eso es como pasa en el fútbol, pero todos tenemos nuestra responsabilidad y tenemos que hacer más y los jugadores entienden eso, saben que necesitan hacer más y ese es el mensaje. Aún creemos que podemos llegar en los playoffs y vamos a batallar por eso hasta el final. Y esa es la lucha y fue en este tono la conversación con ellos.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Eric. Gracias, Eric. Go ahead, Peter. You're muted. Peter, you're muted. If you could unmute yourself. We'll go to John Arnold.
Apologies, sorry about that. Yeah, sorry, Dan, I'll take my answers in English. My apologies. Hey, Dan, you made the choice to hire Luchi back in 2019, and it was obviously a brave decision. So I assume that yesterday or this weekend was really, really difficult for you personally to have to go through this. But I'm wondering, at what point in the season did it become clear to you that you were going to have to make a decision? And how far back into the season did this thinking begin with you?
Well, I mean, none of these decisions are ever made lightly, right? And Lucia had a volume of work that would say that, you know, he could get us to the playoffs, right? His first 2 years has shown exactly that. And, you know, we found ourselves in places, unfamiliar places. We found ourselves near the bottom of the table. And that's, you know, not acceptable here. It's not the standard here. And so we were very careful to, you know, monitor this. And early on, we weren't scoring goals and creating chances, but defensively, we were fairly solid, which was keeping us alive. But we had some ups and downs. And as this season has progressed, we got to the point where we were needing to win in a shootout sometimes, and sometimes the offense wasn't having, you know, the game that it needed to have. And so we just found ourselves in a very difficult spot. But this was not some decision that was, you know, pre-baked a long time ago, because we have faith in the people that we bring here to work with us and try to give them the resources to be successful. But, you know, as we were coming into this, and, you know, it didn't have anything to specifically do with the opponent at Houston. What it had to do with was the fact that we felt like we were deteriorating, and you could see that deterioration in the goal differential, and we were about to play ourselves out of a playoff contention. And, you know, we're doing this to win and play for championships. We're not doing this as a hobby or just, well, oh gosh, let's see how this goes. And so we wanted to do everything everything we could at the right moment to make sure that we were still alive and well in this hunt for it. So, yeah, it was a difficult decision, but there were definitely some ups and downs this year, and I thought we had some very good moments, some great successful performances. We've beaten some of the best teams in the league, and we've also had some performances that I think the players would tell you were not their best, and we recognize that. And so it was more about the body of work and finding ourselves in 11th place right now in the West and 7 points off the playoff line.
I have a follow-up for Dan, and I also have a question for Andre before I'm finished. Can you tell us what the status of Lucci's contract situation was? Was he in the final year of his contract, or did he have additional years queued up?
He was in the final year of his contract here. And so it was winding down, although we had an option on his contract here to bring him back this next year. But we made the decision as it was winding down that we needed to go in a different direction.
Thank you. Andre, my question for you is, do you feel like you have any culpability in the current status of the team and its place in the standings?
Yes, of course I do. I'm the technical director of the team. I'm the responsible here with everyone involved in the team for the decisions we make. And obviously, as I said before in the previous question in Spanish, I was just telling about the responsibility that we all share here. So, and that was one of the conversations I had here with the staff, with some of the players. And we need to, and now everyone here, we need to do more than what we've been doing. So, and I'm the first one that recognize this and gonna push us for a better final regular season and hopefully and believing we can still make it to the playoffs.
All right, thanks guys. We're gonna wrap it up with John Arnold and Buzz Carrot. Go ahead, John.
Hi, Dan. You've mentioned a few times the timing, but I want to clarify and make sure I've got it right. Because if I'm not mistaken, the team was in basically the same position last two games heading into them in 7th place on the table and trailing by about the same number of points. Why is now the time? And if you felt like the change was needed and that Marco could lead the team to the playoffs, why not act sooner?
Well, the gap was still a little bit closer than 7 points before this. And so we were just monitoring the situation here. We wanted to make sure that we were still within reach. And if you make a change, you want to, put your candidate or your interim into the best possible situation. And we think just given the spacing that's coming up and the time to, I guess, gel with the team and start to formulate your plan. And we do have a number of games in quick succession, and then we have a big break. I believe that breaks 18 days. And so we thought this would give, our interim coach, if we had to make a change, the amount of time that he could best implement his plan and work with his staff. So, it was a fluid process. It's ongoing. Again, we don't, want to just give up on somebody. And you're right, there have been some ups and downs as we've gone through, but it became evident that we were in trouble and needed to do something to keep those playoff hopes alive.
And as you've alluded to, Marco is a guy who well, who the team has known well, was even around the club and when Oscar left, and I think it expressed desire to stay, and obviously does end up staying in the front office. I don't want to make this a Lucci versus Marco situation because I understand that's not what it is, but was there thought at the time of having him become the head coach? And you said he's a candidate this time around. What is it about him that makes him the right choice as your interim, but also potentially a candidate going forward? You mentioned the defensive ability, but is there more that you see that you think maybe this is someone who can lead us even past these next few games?
There are a lot of wins and great results associated with Marco at this club that he probably didn't get enough credit for. And a lot of coaches here have relied on Marco, and he and Lucci had a great relationship here too. And Marco, I think, did a fabulous job of trying to support Lucci too. And, always a unique circumstance, right? Because head coaches have their assistants and staff, and Marco was upstairs in the front office working, but Marco is FC Dallas through and through. And, you know, he and I've had a lot of conversations about his time here. And I mean, he is such a loyal guy and a great guy, but he has the institutional knowledge of Major League Soccer. And again, he is, I mean, coaches are generally either offensive or defensive coaches. And I think he would definitely be a defensive coach, and he is in consideration too, but he knows this is not an easy situation that he's coming into. He's got 8 difficult games trying to get a team into the playoffs that's going to help determine the future of this club and his own personal future. But he is a loyal, good, honest man and a hardworking man. And he's a guy that has the respect of everybody in our offices. And I think a lot of respect around Major League Soccer. He has a lot of great relationships, and I see that, you know, sort of how other organizations, you know, hold him and how he is treated places. And this is a guy who has worked incredibly hard. So you're generally not as fortunate as we are to have somebody who can step in and take this opportunity to lead. So we feel great about this opportunity. We feel bad about the circumstances. Again, it's, you know, like I said, Lucci's somebody who we care about, but Marco is got so much ability and so much knowledge and such a passion for the game. And he is so well liked by the players. I think this could be a great situation for the club. But again, the proof is in the pudding. So what happens on the field will help determine the direction of this club. And if it's not to be a Marco, we will go out and hire the best candidate we possibly can.
All right. Thanks, John. We'll wrap it up with Buzz Carrick from Third Degree. Go ahead, Buzz.
I have a question for each of you. Dan, is there any chance with the direction of the club the last few years, understanding, of course, the need to make a profit and perhaps sell players for money, is there any chance that your philosophy of selling some of the young talent may be adapted to perhaps keeping some of these very top tier young guys in an effort to win a championship?
Yeah, I wish the for-profit was something that happened in global soccer. The game of soccer is so unique. It's all part of the business, but that's not really. It's also two-sided when you talk about it, because these players have the opportunity to go abroad and experience other opportunities. So it's not just about the money on that side of it. And you hear that, you know, a lot, but it's also recognizing what the market conditions are, right? Because if a player wants to go to Europe, get a new contract, do something different, experience something different, you have to protect your club and your organization. We've never taken a single dollar out of this organization ever. And we continue to reinvest every single dollar of every transfer into the players, whether it's directly in cash or whether it's in GAM or whatever mechanism MLS has. So it's not like, we're pulling money out of the club, but it's not about running the business. It's about our strategy going forward. We would love to retain this core for as long as we can. And we made a lot of contract decisions recently, signing Ricardo Pepi to a new 5-year contract. And you've got some other young guys with long-term contracts. We think we have a really special, unique group of young players in the attack. And then supplemented, with Shun and O'Brien too. I mean, those are 2 players that have been incredibly productive. They're obviously, Shun is on the younger side and was well coveted by Serie A clubs and by Belgian clubs before he made the choice. We really visited with him, and he was excited. He thought MLS was the next logical step in his career. And O'Brien, now sitting on 35 goals through 3 years, that's incredibly productive. Last 3 years of soccer. So we're trying to retain this group together, but we're going to have to make additions. We're going to have to spend money to help make those players better and also solidify the other side of the ball. And we're focused on doing it because we think we have a group with a few pieces that can compete for a championship going forward.
Andre, you mentioned the new coaching candidates would need to understand the DNA of the club as a developmental club, as an aspect of the club. Does that preclude a foreign coach who doesn't know MLS? Does that mean you have to be somebody more domestic? Or can a guy whose whole career has been somewhere else be that kind of coach that has that developmental pedigree and winning pedigree?
Yeah, hi, Buzz. Thank you for the question. Yes, it can be from everywhere, as I mentioned before. I think the coach will understand once he hears from us how things are, how we run here, and what we believe. And we strongly believe in this development platform, and continue to make players reach we're always thrilled when we have our players reaching US national team level at any level, especially in the senior national team. So we will continue to do this, and the coach, wherever he's from, or also could be Marco, as we mentioned a few times here, that will understand this, and we'll have to be ready to continue this process that we are so proud of, and obviously bring also the experience that he has from previous jobs. And so but the most important thing is that we believe what we've been doing here, and we want to continue to develop the young players and that can take us also to another level.
All right. Andre, Dan, thank you guys very much for your time. Appreciate it. Most importantly, thanks to each and every one of you, gentlemen and lady. I see you there, Kelly. Appreciate you joining us. We will have Marco Ferruzzi and a couple of FC Dallas players available tomorrow, in person only, on the training field following training tomorrow. Marlene will send that schedule later this evening. Please let her know if you do plan on attending, so we can make sure that we're set up in proper COVID fashion. But appreciate the time today, everyone, and look for that email from Marlene if you would like to be here in person tomorrow to speak with Marco and a couple FC Dallas players. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.